Welcome to The Prize Inside, your favorite source for exploring the human potential through the stories of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. These aren't just people exceeding physical limits. They're doing the impossible, and they aren't done yet. Are you ready to exceed your potential? Then join in now with your hosts, chiropractors Rochelle and Jeremy Myers and massage therapist Bunny.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Prize Inside, where we learn about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Today is going to be the chiropractic principle number 5. They're the perfection of the Triune. So we're going to go into that in a minute. But first, a word from our sponsors. The Prize Inside is brought to you by MyPeak Direct. MyPeak Direct, MYEPEAK Direct.com, is an online holistic store that doctors have deemed the products really exceptional. Ever have a difficult time knowing what the best supplement to take on the online web is? Maybe you have heard a good suggestion, but not sure what a good brand is. MyPeak is an online store that only sells top quality holistic supplies from top rated companies. MyPeak Direct does not recommend anything its doctors have not tried first. So check out www.myepeakdirect.com. Dr. Rachel Myers and Amy Segerman offer 4 components to support you as you begin your journey towards lifelong transformation. One healthy habit at a time. Your coach will be with you every step of the way. Studies show that having a support system can help you get better results. It's why each client gets paired with a coach to guide them on the path to optimal health and well-being. Our coaches are there to empower and encourage you in real time. They know the journey you're about to embark on because they've been there themselves. So, call 269-964-1441 and ask for Dr. Rachel or Amy to get started. Okay, so now we can talk about the perfection of the Triune. So this is chiropractic principle number 5. We are past. I'll give you the principle, the first 4 that we talked about in the last few weeks. The first one was called the major premise, which is a universal intelligence that is in all matter, right? So we've determined that in our world, as we currently sit in this universe, there's a universal intelligence because we can see the organization of this matter, right? So we have that. Some people call it God. Some, like whatever your, essentially the laws of nature. Okay, so then you go on to chiropractic principle 2. The chiropractic meaning of life is the expression of this intelligence through matter is the chiropractic meaning of life. So this organization of matter proves that there's a universal intelligence within. And if you haven't been with us before, I use the example of the law of gravity. You have the universal law of gravity that allowed our matter to create a skeleton and muscles to hold us up, balancing into that gravity, not actually counteracting that gravity, or negatively. In fact, you're not going against gravity; you're balancing with it. And then the union, number 3, is the union of intelligence and matter. Life is necessarily the union of intelligence and matter. So life is the expression of this intelligence through the matter we have. And then one of my favorites is chiropractic principle 4, the triune of life. Life is a triunity having 3 necessary factors: intelligence, force, and matter, which overall proves, we are made of energy. And so as we go through this, we're going to know more and more that our matter being an organized matter. It's not just an organized energy. Proves without a shadow of a doubt that there is an intelligence beyond what we're looking at. So those are the four that led into this one. This one is called the perfection of the Triune. This one's really interesting, so we'll go through this. In order to have this, so it's called the perfection of the Triune. In order to have 100% life, there must be 100% intelligence, 100% force, and 100% matter. So we'll go into that. I wanted to bring up a little point, though, as we're going through these chiropractic principles. One very interesting point that you guys might find fascinating was the author of these 33 chiropractic principles. His name is Ralph W. Stevenson, and he published this book in 1927. Comparative today, what was back about, 9 years before that? That's right. And something that we have seen in the office, we are seeing in our current society, and I have a prediction out there. The last time we had a pandemic, holistic health in general exploded on the scene. I'm from a place where there was a guy named Dr. Kellogg. Dr. Kellogg built a holistic hospital. There was holistic things everywhere. And one of the reasons I believe that happened was because we learned that no matter what, and no matter what we think we can do as far as our health and healing, it always relies on us. And so what happens is we give up our power, we give up our who we are as a physical being to someone else, to a doctor, to someone else to take care of that, while we don't look at that. And then when they don't have the answer, then things start to change for us. So that is just interesting that this book was published in 1927. So as we go through, and a lot of these 33 chiropractic principles you're going to find are so relevant for today. So let's talk about this. So in order to have 100% life, I'm asking you to have what? 100% intelligence, 100% force, and 100% matter. So in the deductive logic that we occur, there's one variable that we can take out of that we have no control over, and that would be our universal intelligence, right? So universal intelligence is not in our control. That is not something that we are able to change. Now, what's interesting is our understanding of how we can get even further beyond and really start touching the true massive foundation of intelligence that we didn't even know we had. We'll start to be able to look at that through our force and our matter. So what can we really affect if we're looking at everything? If we can improve our matter 100% of the time, that would help us improve our force 100% of the time, which would allow our life force, basically our innate intelligence, to live 100% of the time. Okay, so if we start from that deduction, let's talk about this. One of my favorites, and of course these are a little shorter, but they're some of my favorites to do. One of my favorite things to live by is this thing called 1% improvement every day. I was trying to look up the book. There's a business book out there that showed me this. It was a very small, kind of in that series of like how I move my cheese. I could not find it, so I apologize. However, there's so many books out there on this 1% improvement now concept. But what I want to talk about with this is, am I asking you to live this perfect world? As soon as you listen to this, you're like, oh, okay, I will live in perfection. Well, two things have to happen. One, we have to have self-reflection on what perfection of matter is. And so that is a debate that will stand the test of time. Like where are there things in our world that we need to physically change to just be a human in this planet that aren't going to allow us to be perfect? I'll give you an example. If you can, I'm guessing, that nature, the universal intelligence, would want us to walk to work, not take a car where you're sitting and driving, not getting that, those higher speeds. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe we've adapted to that universal intelligence to overtake those kind of things. But I'll give you a good example. A computer job, all of us go for that, computer job that is nice, and you're sitting all day. So is that good on your physical matter? Not necessarily. Or, the higher stress of, you move up and now you're in charge of a bunch of people, and the job itself is super stressful. So, these are just a few things. Fast foods, things that don't naturally come. And so as we go, how do we live closer to that, to allow us to get to that 100% life, and those are the things we want to start looking at. Now, why do I bring up 1% improvement? One of the things that I've noticed in my 20-year career is that all of us have done this. We say, all right, today's the day. I want to do some changing. So we start to do these massive changes throughout our life. I usually call it the unrealistic 75%. So all of a sudden, January 1st comes around and we decide it's time. It's time for me to start working out every day. Since I haven't worked out, I'm going to work out 7 days a week. We're going to dedicate an hour and a half to this. Now, some people pull it off. There's no doubt that this happens. However, one of the things that you notice is the vast majority of us cannot do that because of the times of our day. So, what I always suggest to people is, in something that's worked. Once I read this book, this simple little book, one day I will find it. Imagine just changing one thing 1% of the time. So for me, I'll go into what I've always wanted in my lifestyle. Was I wanted to be able to find time, make time to meditate and prayer. So meditation and prayer was a big part of what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't find the time. I would wake up too late and then I'd have to go to work, or I would fall asleep in a chair or watch some kind of TV versus doing that portion. So what I learned was, if I change 1% of what I'm doing, then maybe that's the way to go. So I started doing this years and years ago, probably 15 years ago now. I started making time in the morning for meditation. So I call it a meditation visualization for the day. So I do one of these meditation visualizations for the rest of the day. And I literally started at 5 minutes just to see if I could get that in. So I didn't change that until I understood after a few months that I was going to be able to do that. Well, I stayed with it. I stayed consistent. I said, all right, every day. Now I'm going to miss here and there. But what I wanted to do is I said, hey, this is 1% change for my life. So if I miss a day or here or there, it doesn't matter. I will get back on that. So over that time, about 3 months in, it was this habitual pattern that I actually truly love to do. In fact, this 1% improvement for me, a 5-minute meditation every morning, led into a 10 and 20 minute. However, the 5-minute one started me being more productive than I ever have before. And that was from 1%, giving myself 5 minutes, literally dedicating that time. Now, when we go back and we try to do that 75%, the problem is, let's say we start working out every day. We find that we don't have that time, so it really limits us. Well, then that 75% change sounds good at the time, but then when you don't do it anymore because it doesn't fit into your lifestyle. Something gets super busy, those type of maneuvers, then you go down to 0. And so that is the problem. With a 1% improvement, you're in your head, you're saying, okay, every day I do this, I get to add 1%. So by the end of the year, it's potentially a 365% improvement from making 1% per day. That's what I love. And in fact, here's what's kind of weird. As you get better and better at this, and I'll use the meditation prayer concept, you start adding time. That 1% is not 1% anymore. It's 1.1% the next day, because now it's easier. Now all of a sudden you go through these meditation pieces and it's just automatic. You start doing it every day and you don't even know. Sometimes you go through it like it's a part of the motion. However, you get improved, and each day you do that, it adds, instead of 1%, it's 1.2 the next day, now 1.3. That is called exponential growth. Exponential growth is much easier if it's a consistent process where you're adding those in. I was coaching my daughter's 10U softball team one time, and we went by that. We weren't very good. More the coaching than the talent. The talent was totally there, but I only knew how to tackle people with a ball. So to try to understand this softball thing and all the different rules, and then go against coaches that ate and drank it for breakfast, and then to have them beat us was pretty good. But what happened was I said, okay, I can't teach everything that they need to know. Once we started playing, I could only teach 1%. So I started saying, okay, what do we need to work on for next practice? And each one of those practices, we kept improving and improving and improving. And then by the end of the year, we were actually beating teams that we had lost to in the beginning a lot. And then, I even had a coach come up going, man, you guys have gotten a lot better. And one of the reasons is because 1% is tangible. It's doable. It's very easy. I've used this concept for several things. People think I'm crazy in the morning. I do my meditation prayer. I actually try to learn a language. I'm trying to learn French. Everybody picks on me because I'm not very good because I'm old. So as I'm learning, but I can actually read French now. Don't know if I could speak it that well. However, that's a very easy habit for me. If you're ever interested in learning a language, a free one, Duolingo, allows you to introduce it at a very short time frame, where it only takes you a few minutes to do that. And as you go, each piece of that, and then I have my daily stretching routine that I go through. All these things before I even start the day. Now, I didn't start my career that way. I didn't have all these things. You barely get up and get to work, those type of things. But once I started introducing the things I wanted to, I could do them at different times. Now I actually try to meditate twice a day, in a lot of things, and that goes for a lot of different things. I'm using meditation for an example, but when you're changing your diet, you don't want to go cold turkey sometimes. Maybe just going, changing one meal, changing it to, a salad instead of a burger, whatever that looks like to you. Try changing it 1%, because you want to keep that for a lifetime, and you can see that what happens is this exponential growth that occurs with that. So this one is very powerful because of we're never going to be 100%. Once we're on this planet, there's too many variables. There's too many, like what we talked before, thoughts, toxins, traumas that get in our way. What can we do? We could be on a journey constantly and not worry about that. We have to do what we can do and get better and better at it as we go. So I live by this 1% improvement every day. It is my mental peace. In fact, one of my 1% is to get more of these podcasts out so that, I'm not sitting around doing nothing and, like watching TV or something like that. So this podcast, as of this morning, is at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday. Why? Because then I get to hang out with the fam, and they're not even up out of bed yet. So that's one reason why we do all those things. But I hope you enjoyed this one. This one, I'm going to read it again. Ooh, I forgot about that. I was going to read a quote as well. So remember, this is the principle 5 is the perfection of the Triune. In order to have 100% life, there must be 100% intelligence, 100% in force, 100% matter. And that's our journey. So this is a quote from Oscar Wilde. The aim of life is self-development. To realize one's nature perfectly, that is what each of us is here for. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week.
Don't think for a second that this episode has reached its full potential, because we have plenty more for you on Myers-Chiropractic.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast listening service so you don't miss a minute of real stories, real people, and real results. We look forward to exploring the human potential with you next time, right here on The Prize Inside.